Good morning, guys. Once again, it is I, the chairman, with another review of physical media. And I wanted to start off today with a film that I just finished watching. And this is Severin's presentation of the classic 1965 Italian horror film, Nightmare Castle, starring Barbara Steele. And this was directed by Mario Caiano, even though in the credits it doesn't say Mario Caiano. I guess he must have used an alternate name or something like that. It's in black and white, but I'll get to the black and white and kind of tell you why that actually really benefited the film. And the photographer was directed by Enzo Barboni, and this is actually Ennio Morricone's first horror film score. So Nightmare Castle kind of comes off as your typical haunted castle, ghost story involving a demented mad scientist, and he kills his wife to transfer her life essence to his lover, who is the already by now much aged maid, and that whole thing happens, and she becomes young again, but his wife, obviously played by Barbara Steele, says, "Oh no, I have a will, and I've given my will, and in my will I've given my whole estate to my stepsister." And so, of course, this the scientist Stephen goes and marries that stepsister, who turns out to be exactly a look-alike of the first wife, Muriel, also played by Barbara Steele. So the whole thing is kind of like, like I said, a bit of a mash of a ghost story, because you do have the dead wife coming back with her lover, who was the gardener. Then you have a little bit of a psychological thing going on, because the new wife, the stepsister Jenny, is supposedly insane, and she starts having memories, past memories of Muriel, and then so there's a whole lot of weird stuff happening here. And like I mentioned about the black and white, I don't know whether this was a artistic choice or whether it was just a budgetary choice, because you do have a lot of these early mid-60s Italian horror films in black and white. I think most of them, or all of them, were in black and white, such as Black Sunday. And actually this film does contain this disc does contain two other films starring Barbara Steele on them. They're also both in black and white. But the black and white in this case really does seem to be appropriate for just to build up the whole creepy atmosphere, the mood. It's rather high contrast black and white, so because it being from 1965, it doesn't have that, for lack of a better term, old movie black and white look that you would get from, say, a film from the 30s or the 40s or the 50s. And because of that, you really do still get quite a lot of detail with the black and white. In fact, I would argue more detail than you might get if it was in color, because then you're talking about color timing issues. A lot of times with older films in color, the color does appear to be a bit more saturated, because they're probably using like a Technicolor process, and it just doesn't feel as organic or as real as you necessarily would get with the black and white. And then with the black and white, you can handle things such as blood not appearing as weirdly as it did back in those days in color. You can actually see a lot more detail, like in the higher contrast scenes where it's a bit more brighter or a bit more darker. The black and white really helps to bring those details to light, pun intended, better than I would think if the same scene was shot in color. So once again, this is from Severin, and I believe that this is probably the most complete version of Nightmare Castle. I mean, it has come out in various home video formats over the years. It's probably Barbara Steele's second most well-known horror film of that era. The first being 1960s Black Sunday, directed by Mario Bava. That's probably her most famous horror film, although she was also in Federico Fellini's 8½. And so that's 8½. Her appearance at 8½, is probably her most famous mainstream film role. But if you just talk about horror, it's Black Sunday and then Nightmare Castle. So if you ever see this on a sale, pick this up. I mean, it's actually a pretty good deal because you get 3 films in one on one disc. Even though the other 2 films, the Castle of Blood, directed by Antonio Margheriti, even though he's billed as Anthony Dawson in this film, but if you recognize the name Antonio Margheriti, that was from Inglourious Bastards, which was the name that Brad Pitt used when they were trying to sneak into the Nazi party, and that was a nod to Antonio Margheriti. And the other one is Massimo Pupilla's Terror Creatures from the Grave. Now, both of these are much lesser quality than Nightmare Castle. They're transferred from old prints, and they're pretty rough looking. At least Castle of Blood is. That's the only one that I watched a bit of. So it's really rough looking, scratchy, you know, kind of your typical grindhouse look with lots of scratches and just damage. Now, the Nightmare Castle print also does have some short bits of obvious negative damage as well. Like you can tell there's one part where it was just cut. Like you can see the cut going across the screen, and I guess it was just a case of that's just what they were dealing with, and so they just had to splice it together, repair it as best they could. But you know the damage is still very visibly apparent. So if you do get this, just be aware that's. I mean, it's not all over. There's like 3 points in the film where it's like that. I think 3. The rest of the time it looks great. You know, you get the occasional like hair or mark on the screen, but it's not distracting at all. So just be aware of that. Now, I've been forgetting to mention that I did get the Best of Bond, James Bond. This is a double CD of all of the theme songs for all the James Bond films, and this has also come out on a triple LP. But to be honest, I couldn't justify paying $50-something for a triple LP, of which I would only listen to half, because I really only like the songs of the Connery, then Lazenby, then Moore, and the Dalton films, and they really make up half of this album. And I don't really give 2 craps about the Pierce Brosnan and Daniel Craig songs, even though newer fans of the films like them, you know, like You Know My Name and Writings on the Wall. I couldn't care less. I don't even know what they sound like. I mean, like if you play the songs, if you play like 3 bars from the songs, I wouldn't be able to tell you that that's a song from a James Bond film. Whereas, you know, the Connery and Moore songs are so classic that if you just say dun dun, I just immediately know that's Thunderball. You know, I know that's You Only Live Twice. I can just hum like 3 bars, and those songs are so iconic and so memorable that I just immediately know what they are. So it's probably because I'm old and those are the films I just grew up loving, and so therefore, but I honestly believe those songs are better. Those songs are far more memorable. I mean, those songs are among, like, not just the best theme songs, but among just the best songs from that era. You know, I'll take Goldfinger, I'll take You Only Live Twice. I'll take the Diamonds Are Forever and match them up to other songs of that era. Just regular songs, and they stand beat for beat with those songs. So, yeah. So that's why I didn't buy it. That's why I only bought this on CD, because of that. And also forgot to mention that I did get the Airport 4-film collection from Amazon. This was a bit of a schnäppchen. It just showed up one day, and I saw, oh wow, this is pretty cheap. And the Airport films were mainstays of the 1970s disaster film genre, from which you had Earthquake, Tower Inferno, Poseidon Adventure. There was just a slew of those disaster films that came out, and the Airport series was the most prominent of those because you had 4. You had Airport 1970, 1975, 77, and then the last film, 1979, of the Concorde, or the Concorde, Airport 79. And these films were known for being big budget. They had They had big casts. They had a lot of, as you know, as you can tell, they had a lot of the big stars of that era appearing, such as Charlton Heston, Burt Lancaster, James Stewart, Jack Lemmon, Lee Grant, Jacqueline Bisset, Dean Martin, George Kennedy, and many, many more. They had a lot of cameos. They had a lot of just, you know, people that you wouldn't expect to see in these films just show up for little bit parts. And so it was really, for me, it was really 77 and 79 that were in my that were mostly in my wheelhouse. I mean, I think of all these films that came out in 1977 as kind of being the year in which I became aware of films such as obviously Star Wars, Close Encounters, and The Spy Who Loved Me, and Airport 77 was that, because it was like it took the already existing concept and ratcheted up a notch. They upped the stakes with this film in terms of they sunk a 747 into the ocean, and so the whole thing is, and the whole idea is that they're inside the plane and they're just having to figure out a way to rescue the plane because it's going to get crushed by the ocean pressure, by the water pressure, and Airport 79 was just playing off of that fact. You know, it was the last one, but it's also the first one that did not feature a 747 as the plane in danger. So this is a pretty simple set. You just have each film on its own disc. So pretty straightforward. And I haven't gotten much from Arrow. Because there really isn't a whole lot that I do want to get, and I kind of want to get to Arrow a bit more later. But what I did get from their most recent sale was the two different collections of the Meiko Kaji. So you have the Stray Cat series, the Stray Cat Rock series. Now this is 5 films. This was $25, and it's 5 films spread over 2 discs. And one interesting thing is that they do have a card in here for Phantom of the Mall, Eric's Revenge, which just did come out from Arrow on Blu-ray. So this is like what they do before. What they often do is that they'll throw a card in there advertising a film. They don't even, like, it's not really an advertisement because they're not saying anything. They're just showing it, and that's their kind of hint that, hey, this is coming out on a disc soon. But what's interesting though is that just came out like recently, and I think this set's been out for a while. So I don't know if they're like packaging these things newer, because I don't think they would have put that card in there like a year ago. I think this set is actually more than a year old. It's actually, I think it's actually a couple years old at least. But anyway, so the thing with Meiko Kaji is that she's probably the premier star of the that Japanese genre of girl gang, girl yakuza, women in prison, and so she was a primary star. And this film is more of the girl gang genre. Oh, and in case you didn't know, Meiko Kaji's probably most famous film is Lady Snowblood. So she's been in like several of these different definitive Japanese genre of films. So you got the Lady Snowblood, which is more of like the Lady Samurai stuff, and now you have the this girl gang genre. And so you have the 5 films in here. They're Delinquent Girl Boss, Wild Jumbo, Sex Hunter, Machine Animal, and Beat 21. Now I've seen a few of these films, not all of them, on streaming, primarily on Prime. And so then also what I got was the Female Prisoner Scorpion series. And this was $40. This is a better set because each film is packaged individually in its own box. And so the Female Prisoner Scorpion is, like I said, the Japanese female prisoner genre. And so in this one, Meiko Kaji plays Scorpion, or in Japanese, Sasui. And so this film has, sorry, this series has Female Prisoner number 701. That was her prisoner designation. Female Prisoner number 701, Scorpion. That's the first film. then it's Jailhouse 41, then it's Beast Stable, then it's 701's Grudge Song. And so each of the films, being individually packaged, they have their own special artwork that was done just for the set itself. Now in this one here, they have that same card for Dream Demon. Now I've never heard of Dream Demon, and this hasn't come out yet. So I don't know if it's a case where it's going to come out like in a couple months or maybe never, because they've done a couple times where they have thrown in a card of a film and it's yet to appear. So I don't know if this is just if this is going to happen or not, because I've heard nothing about Dream Demon. In fact, I've never heard of this film. So on the inside they have the original, or one of the original posters for the films, and then so that's the first one, the Scorpion film, and then this is Jailhouse 41. Oops, sorry about that. And this is the inside. And then this is the third one, Be Stable. And that's the inside. And this is the final film, Grudge Song. And that's the inside of that. So yeah, that was not a bad buy at all. I don't know if I'll characterize it as that as a snapshot or not, but you know, 5 films for $25, 4 films for $4 for $40. That's a pretty good deal, and that's kind of what I was looking for from Arrow. There were no like individual films that I wanted to get, and then any of their newer collections just were a little bit too expensive and not as much interest to me in terms of getting, like Vengeance Trails, their new Italian Western one. Not really too interested in one. 40 Years of Lead, or whatever it's called, about the the Italian police genre, kind of not too interested in it. That's still a bit too new, and the price hasn't really dropped enough on that to make me want to get it, even if I did want to get it, which I'm not really that interested in. But kind of running out of time here, but what I did want to do was, in my next video, I wanted to give some advice based on what I've seen, my own experiences about buying physical media, especially during now, as you know, we're getting close to Black Friday and there's already been a ton of sales going on. I want to give a little bit of advice on that. So hope to do that in my next video, so stay tuned for that. Until then, keep enjoying your physical media, and I'll talk to you later. See ya.